Welcome everyone. I am Grandmaster Gyula, and this is going to be my first video for the series of Learn from Garry Kasparov. Obviously, since he's arguably the greatest player of all time, but definitely top 3, we have a lot of things to learn from Kasparov, but I will try to focus on some specific areas. Obviously, he was great all-around player. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to dominate the chess world for so long. And I also try to pick a little bit lesser known games, maybe from his earlier years, or even when the later years, not the most famous games, but some which may be new for you but still extremely instructive, and we can learn a lot from them, I believe. Okay, so let's start. First game. I have Kasparov against Gavrikov from the Championship of Soviet Union 1981. Okay, so the game starts as a Queen's Gambit, and back then the Tarrasch, which is on the board after Third C5, was quite popular. Nowadays it's not really popular at the top level. Obviously, Black is taking some strategic risk with the isolated pawn on d5, but hopes for active counterplay later in the game. Kasparov also liked to employ this opening in his younger years mainly. Okay, so knight c6, bishop g2, knight f6, short castle, bishop e7. So nothing unusual so far. Here Kasparov took on c5, which is a little bit unusual move order. Normally they play knight c3 first, and after short castle. Here white has many options. Bishop f4, for example, bishop g5, also b3, and also there is this d takes c5, which would transpose to our game. So Kasparov started with dc5, bishop c5, bishop g5, short castle, and knight c3. So this is all theoretical. A lot of games have been played for this position, and Black also goes for the main line in this position, which is d4. Here Kasparov takes on f6, queen f6, and knight d5. I would say positional players or players who prefer to play calmer positions like to choose knight e4 here, and this is, I mean, equally good as knight d5. Just leads to completely different type of game. After queen e7 takes, queen d2, for example, here, and white is playing against the isolated pawn and saying that exchanging two pair of minor pieces is a quite good achievement at this early stage of the game. So this is just another line which also scores quite well for white. Knight d5 was played by Kasparov, queen d8, and knight d2, also theoretical. And here Black has different options. Rook e8 is a very decent developing move. There is this idea of bishop h3, which is available in many positions, but personally I don't believe that it is such a great idea, because even if you just react in the most simple and straightforward way, to me this bishop is very strong in this diagonal, and this one is rather passive because of d4 pawn, and we can put pressure in long diagonal with queen b3, or can attack this bishop with knight b3 and just play rook c1, also attack c6 knight. So it looks to me a very easy position for white to play. And our only problem can be the e2 pawn, but it's very easy to protect with rook fe1 or just bishop f3. So So rook e8 is a decent alternative to what happened in the game. In the game, a6 was played. It looks like a little bit of a slow move, but it prepares the a7 square for the bishop. So after rook c1, bishop a7, the bishop is, I mean, quite well placed there in some sense. So like, it's not so easy to attack it, like on c5, and you know that's the strategy of black, to play at some moment d3 and then hope for some activity for that bishop. So if bishop would go to d6 or e7, that would be just already very sad for the black player. And here came the first interesting move to me in this game. So I guess I would not play this move in my game. So Kasparov played knight c4 here, which is kind of the most aggressive looking move. So it goes forward, and obviously the idea of the move is to vacant this d2 square for the queen. It can go to d2, and then rook can go to fd1, for example. And later it depends how the game goes. Knight can maybe go towards a5, or queen can go to f4 and to eye this d6 square. So in this sense, it's a completely understandable idea, but somehow to me it looks like that knight b3 is a little bit more natural, because then basically the knight is already in a good square to jump to c5, and queen still can go to d2, and it's I don't quite see the advantage of c4 over b3, to be honest. And okay, from b3 we also attack d4 pawn, and yeah, so I mean, maybe nowadays it's a little bit better move, but okay, opening is not our main topic here, but still I just wanted to point out that I believe this knight c4 is an absolutely okay move, but I believe knight b3 is easier for white. So here black probably made a mistake or inaccuracy, his first mistake, real mistake in the game. So he played rook b8. This is kind of a slow move. Obviously it's the idea that the rook is going out from this diagonal, so the pawn can go to b5. That was black's idea, but it proved to be a little bit slow. So what could have been the move for black? Okay, this bishop h3 is always there, but as I said, I am not a fan of this move, and here since black also lost two moves like a6, bishop a7, I like it even a little bit less. So for example, queen b3 is a very decent move, immediately putting pressure. And this is not a pawn exchange in case black takes on e2, because after queen takes b7, the knight is hanging, and also the rook is going. I mean, the knight has already no good squares to go, actually, so I don't need to continue the variation, like knight d8, knight e7, all covered, and also this h7 bishop is going to hang after a queen move. So bishop h3 I don't like. Other developing move like bishop e6 also doesn't make so much sense to me, because knight f4 is a move anyway that white wants to play in this structure, and the knight can go to d3 and the queen can go to b3, so this is not good. I believe the best move would have been to play rook e8, and you know, it's just a useful developing move, and we will see where this bishop goes. We cannot be sure at this moment. Maybe the g4 square will be a good potential square for this bishop, and okay, rook on e8 is always good, so I could have probably played that. So black played rook b8. Kasparov played knight f4. So as I said, the knight is, of course, on d5 is a little bit unstable, so it likes to go to f4 and d3. And here black played b5, which was his idea. And okay, basically he does not care about the hanging knight on c6. It was not a good move. It was not a good move. Queen f6, again with just some development, was better, I believe. But I already don't like black's position. So white has many ideas here. For example, just probably playing some rook d1 at some moment, or knight a5. But also there is a positional idea, which I will show you. Let's say black is just making a waiting move like h6, for example, then we take on c6. And if black takes with the pawn, then we have knight a5. So for these sort of ideas, black always has to watch out. So b5 was played, and here a typical, not a typical move, but rather a typical concept of Kasparov was used. So basically he had a choice here between taking on c6 or moving the knight. And even objectively these moves are pretty close in strengths, but there is one big difference. And when it was the case in his games, I believe he almost always went for the option which gives less activity for his opponent and still keeps the initiative going for him. So after bishop takes c6, bc4, after very difficult moves for white, white still has the advantage and still keeps the initiative. But what I believe Kasparov did not like, that after rook c4, rook takes b2, suddenly this concept of black makes sense. So the rook is on b2 active. It looks like that maybe this bishop on a7 is maybe going to have some job after d3, and okay, the position is opening and black has the bishops. So white has to find very good moves like queen c1, rook takes a2 and bishop d5. And after that, since we have rook takes c8 and rook c7 threats, the position is still quite promising for white, but the line continues like bishop f5, and even after analysis, it's not easy to show or demonstrate a big advantage for white. So that's why I like the move Kasparov played. So b5, knight d6. So basically, in this way, he is keeping the b5 closed and also attacking the knight on c6 twice. So, okay, this knight has to be taken. And rook takes c6. So here again, he gains the tempo. So he still keeps the initiative going. Black went back to d8. Unfortunately, no good advice for this queen at this moment, because there is no square where it cannot be attacked. So if it goes to e5, for example, then there is knight d3, queen f5, and let's say queen b3. So here basically I just highlighted that rook can come to c1, and then it can come basically to c2 anytime to protect our only weakness on e2, and we completely dominate the only open file, the c file, and the a7 bishop is absolutely a horrible piece right now, because the d3 knight is not going to move in the near future. So that's queen e5. If queen goes other way, like for example queen b4, looks like a kind of fake active move, because knight is immediately doing fantastic job by protecting the pawn and attacking the queen, so that's also not good. And if queen goes to e7, then there is always knight d5 tempo, so that's also, not speaking about some queen c2 where rook c7 is an immediate threat. So queen d8 looks like a passive move, but there was not really a better alternative. Kasparov strengthening the position with queen c2 and also occupying the c file. And finally black played rook e8. It would have been so much better if the rook is already on e8, and then Black does not have to waste the time for it now. Instead, again, like hard to suggest anything better, like if bishop b7, then rook c7, and this is the dream position for white in general. So very good knight against a very bad bishop, and also occupying the only open file. So the positive thing for black in this position that he is not going to get checkmated, but basically going to lose in a pretty miserable way. Okay, so rook e8 and rook c1. So very logical. Kasparov is improving his position with every move. And black played a5 here. So again, here we see the problem that black would love to play with this bishop, but bishop b7 just leads to this exchange of the bishops, which is, as we saw, is just beneficial for white. So black has to move this pawn, that he can move his bishop, and then the rook is not taking the a6 pawn. So that's the idea of a5, but you could see the last few moves. So Kasparov took rook c1 to c6, then brought the queen to c2, and then the rook to c1. So like dramatically improving his position with every move, and black took on d6 with the queen, then had to go back, then also played a5. So it's clear that he's not improving his position in the same way. Basically now when all the pieces are working and are in the game, it was the time to start the attack. And for that, Kasparov basically used the piece, which is doing already a decent job, but on d5 it is also going to be even better. So he played bishop d5. Now suddenly this king looks like weak, because white is introducing threats like bishop takes f7 or rook c7 with double attack on the 7th rank. And also, for example, an idea of bishop f7, king f7 is that the queen can take on h7, and for the king there is no way back to g8 and to safety. So it's already a very difficult situation. Like black played bishop b6, which makes sense to stop rook c7. For example, if he is playing just bishop d7, let's say, what was his original idea, by playing a5, then white can just play rook c7, so attacking the bishop. And the bishop cannot move, unfortunately, for black, because this bishop takes 7, king takes f7, queen f5 is already finishing the game thanks to this pin in the 7th rank. So instead of bishop b6, rook c8 should be tried for black, but then we just take. And okay, if queen takes, then we have this nice tactic again with bishop takes f7, king takes f7, queen b3, bishop e6, rook takes c8, so everything is forced here, takes, and after a b3, black is missing an f-pawn, and since that pawn will be pretty important, it's impossible to put up a fight against such a bad bishop. And in case black recaptures in this position with the bishop, since our bishop is protected, we can just do this double attack on f7 and a7, and basically the game is over. Black cannot protect everything here. So yeah, bishop d7 was not working. Black played bishop to b6. And we can see from this moment on that basically Kasparov gives zero time for his opponent. So every move is either a threat, a capture, or a check. So basically that's how we play in with the initiative and in an open position. So we played queen b3 in this position, attacking simply f7 pawn. Black protected with rook e7. And now very, very nice move was played. So it looks like that white improved his pieces to the maximum. Like rooks on the c5, fantastic. Knight is doing his job. Bishop and queen were just placed on this diagonal to attack on f7. But somehow we need to continue. We need to find a new threat, a new way to improve our position, or just keep black busy before he could play something with this c8 bishop to g4 maybe, or to d7. And Kasparov found a fantastic way for it, and it's not an easy move. I mean, especially in a game. So if you just look at this as an independent position, then maybe it's possible to find this move. But you know, if you remember that 2 moves ago we just played bishop d5, and now thanks to this rook e7, we are removing this bishop to f3 to introduce this knight d5 threat, basically, which is a double attack, because it is attacking the bishop and attacking the rook is very difficult, in my opinion. So it's hard to, when we are attacking and going forward to play bishop f3 is not an easy move, and it's, I believe, the star move of the game. And yeah, I believe black is already helpless at this situation. So this knight d5 is very, very strong. And so in the game, rook e5 was played. Instead, bishop b7 would have been the move. Probably objectively the best move, but the position is very, very bad. And here again a concept comes which I went through lots of games of Kasparov, like hundreds, and it is very common. So, you know, like most people who has a piece which is under attack, like we normally try to move it first, or, you know, or protect it. Let's see, if rook exchange is offered, then we first, okay, we try to move maybe exchange the rook, move the rook, or protect the rook. But for Kasparov, this is not the automatic reflex. For him, the automatic reflex is to counterattack. And in this position, I'm 100% sure that he planned knight d5, which is very, very strong. So in case of bishop takes e6, knight takes e7, queen e7, rook c6, we have an opposite bishop, opposite colored bishop position where, you know, you may say that, okay, like decent drawing chances, but yes, without heavy pieces. But with heavy pieces, maybe this is one of the type of the positions which offers the least chances for survival, because this piece is a piece up in the attack. So like f7 is a light square, and the bishop on b6 can do a lot of things, but protecting light squares is not one of them. So whatever he does, it's not going to protect f7. So position is horrible. Also b5 is weak. White can just push the kingside pawns, for example, queen c2. This is just a slow way of losing. So black played rook e5. In a way, preventing knight d5, sorry, because then there is bishop e6. But Kasparov, again, you see, like now the rook is gone from e7, where knight d5 was the threat. Now it goes to e5. So f7 is again a little bit weak. No more questions needed for Kasparov what to do. So immediately attacking there. Now g6 had to be played, because if queen f8, then after bishop f7, queen f7, rook c8, and the game is over. So g6 was played, and of course we are not going back, but bishop takes g6. We are sacrificing h takes g6 and rook takes g6. So now the king cannot go to the h file, because we just take queen f7 and simply too many mates are threatening. So king has to go to f8. So we, at this moment, we have 2 pawns for the piece, and the attack is very strong. So, you know, like, normally we should not count, you know, like in a way I said that we have a piece for 2 pawns, but rather we have a knight attacking, a rook attacking, a queen attacking, and the rook potentially joining the game. And these guys are on paper, you know, like a rook is 5, bishop's 3 points, but you know, not really helping the king. Of course, now we have a threat again of rook h8, so every move black is just very busy. And if he would think that he can trick white with king g7, that would be actually a very, very nice mate like this. So king g7 does not work. So he tried to run away with king e7. Actually, it makes sense. And again, it looks like that black has decent control over some squares, but I mean, the king is so weak that it's the most important factor in the position. And again, a very beautiful move is coming. So it looks like that our attack is stuck a little bit. If we play rook h7, black may play bishop e6, protecting f7, but Kasparov just played rook c6. So in reinforcing the control over e6, so now rook h7 is a huge threat, and making sure that, you know, even if this rook leaves h6 square, the king is not going to run any further. So also a very nice move, and black is really helpless here. So for example, if bishop d7, there is a nice move again, like knight g6, f g6, and rook h7. So here you can see the idea of rook c6, that the king cannot run away. It has to go back and then getting the checkmate. So rook c6, black played rook f5, and white played queen f3 again. Threat check, or some capture what he did in the last few moves, and black is absolutely helpless. So still could not move the pieces. Maybe this is the first moment where he only has like this check as of threat, so black could finally move one of the bishops at least to c7, and then check coming again on e4. Black played rook e5. If he plays bishop e5, then after knight d3, and this bishop is lost actually on e5, and the game is lost as well. He played rook e5. Here knight g6. So it's a check and attacking the rook. It has to be taken. Rook h7, again a check. So again, very nice. So this one is in the 7s, this one is controlling the 6. King goes to f8, and queen takes on g6. So the king completely lost all the pawns which were defending him, and the mating threats are still there. So queen f7, rook f6, rook h8. All the checks are coming, and black is absolutely helpless against this, so he resigned the game. I believe a very nice game from Kasparov. I especially like this idea of playing bishop f3 back, you know, basically at the kind of, it looks like we are going forward, we need to move some, just, you know, like already like decisive move or something, but then bishop f3 and just creating more threats here, and after rook e5 again using that weakness, and you know, in the most unpleasant moment he sacrificed, and basically thanks to this very nice trick of rook h7 he won this game. All right, so that was the first video of this series. I hope you liked it, and the next one is coming soon. So thanks for watching, and see you in the second video.